Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Good afternoon, hello, and welcome back to our latest episode of Musical Musings. We're airing every Wednesday at 1 p.m., and we're broadcast to you from Rajamachan University of Technology, Pranakon. We will be bringing this program to you in two parts. In our first part, we're going to talk about a song, who sings it, and what the song's about. Then, we're going to listen to the song. And in our second part, we will discuss anything that is difficult to understand. We're going to go through all the lyrics, and we'll talk about any difficult vocabulary, sayings, slang, idiom, anything that might be hard to understand. After we're done, we'll have the news and the latest updates from the university as usual.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome back, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I will be your host today for the Musical Musings program. I am an American teacher here at Rajamachan University of Technology, Pranakon. I have been teaching here for about 6 years, teaching English and a little bit of science. And I also tend to be a music lover, do a little bit of music performing for my students, and that's why we host this music program. So, for today, our song is going to be Elvire, a song sung by the Oak Ridge Boys. Now, the Oak Ridge Boys, they are a genre. You know, I talk about genres a lot on this program. That is the style of music. I actually don't like talking about it. So why do I do it? Because everyone talks about what genre of music something is. The reason I don't like to talk about it is because most music crosses over genres. This is a good example. The Oak Ridge Boys, for most of their popular music that people know, is generally country music. Does have a little bit of rock and roll in there, some guitars, some drums. They do rock a little bit, but it's mostly country music. But I say for their popular music, they actually started out as a gospel band. Now, what is gospel? I think you know what country music is. It's kind of that southern U.S. music. And you know what rock and roll is, of course. But what is gospel? Gospel is Christian music. It's really any sort of Christian religious song. It would be gospel. There's sort of a southern feel to most gospel music. It's hard to explain. I'm not sure why that is. I mean, the southern part of the U.S. does tend to be more religious than the northern part of the U.S., so I guess that's part of it. But even in the north, there's plenty of religious people. My family comes from the north. They're quite religious. I'm not, but most of my family is, and they like gospel music. But it does sort of have a southern feel to it. So there is a little bit of southern country style in gospel, but gospel is specifically about religious music. But because it's religious, you know, not everyone's very religious. They don't want to hear that music. So most of the Oak Ridge Boys' really popular music was their music that crossed over into just general music, more country music, rock music, that sort of thing. All right, so the Oak Ridge Boys were founded in 1943 as the Oak Ridge Quartet. As you can probably guess from that date, 1943, we're not saying the singers were born in 1943. The band formed in 1943. Well, that's 80 years ago, and they're still performing today. Needless to say, it's not the same people, so we don't have any of the original members still around today. Most of the original members have been there since most of the current members, I should say, not the original members. Most of the current members have been in the Oak Ridge Boys since the early 1970s. One member did leave for a while, but then he came back, so he's still there now. So that's still a pretty long time. That's almost 50 years. And we still have those Oak Ridge Boys together. They've been there since the 1970s, 50 years. So they have, regardless of how you want to put the date on them, from 1943 or the early 1970s when you get the current group, yeah, they've been around a long time. So the Oak Ridge Boys. Again, they started out in 1943 as the Oak Ridge Quartet, and they were doing mainly gospel music at that time. Remember, gospel is religious music. They renamed themselves the Oak Ridge Boys in the 1960s. They were formed in Knoxville, Tennessee. You might not know Knoxville, but Tennessee is where a lot of country music comes from, mostly from the city of Nashville. You might have heard of that because it's so popular for music, but maybe not. But Nashville is like the home of country music. A lot of very famous musicians in America come from Nashville, Tennessee. So these guys actually came from Knoxville, but kind of the same area, still from Tennessee. Their name is actually very interesting. Our second part of our program is going to be pretty short because the song lyrics are pretty easy and simple. So let's take a minute here. We have a little extra time here in our first part. So let's take a minute and talk about their name. Their name is very interesting, the Oak Ridge Boys. Where did they get that name? Oak Ridge sounds like a place, right? But they're from Knoxville. Oak Ridge Boys, or Oak Ridge Quartet when they were first founded in 1943. Where did they get that name? Their name is very interesting because they got it from something related to World War II. Oak Ridge. They were formed in 1943. That was during World War II. It was coming up near the end of World War II, but there were still a couple of years left. So that was during World War II. Most of you might know that during World War II, the United States dropped a couple of atomic bombs on Japan. And different people have different opinions on that, whether it was good or bad. Of course, it's bad because many, many people got killed, including many innocent civilians, in very bad ways. Many people actually think it was good, though, because otherwise the United States would have probably had to invade Japan to stop them from what they were doing in China and other places. And that would have maybe killed even more people. And so they actually saved lives by doing it. Whatever. I'm not going to get into that. We're not here to discuss politics, whether that was good or bad or smart or not. But that's what the United States did. In World War II, they dropped 2 atomic bombs on Japan. The atomic bombs were very new then. There was still a lot of research that had to be done. So a lot of the research was done at a couple of facilities. One was Los Alamos Labs in the southwestern part of America in a state called New Mexico. The other place, which was really big for doing a lot of the research, was the Oak Ridge National Laboratory in Tennessee. Now, you can imagine doing research like this had to be very secret because America was very worried because Germany was also very close to getting the same weapon. And so they didn't want to help Germany out at all because for the war in Europe, I mean, I talked about Japan before. That was the war in Asia. This was a world war, so it was going on everywhere. So for the war in Europe, it would have been really bad if Germany got a hold of this information. So this was very secret. So everyone working at Oak Ridge National Laboratory was not allowed to leave. They couldn't leave. Most of them couldn't even talk to people outside, or if they could, it was very little. You could maybe send a letter to your mom and dad and say, hey, yep, I'm doing good. That's it. You can't communicate outside the laboratory. Everything is very secret. So what the laboratory did in order to make life more comfortable is they maybe had some bowling alleys. They maybe had some restaurants they would build within the laboratory, things like that. So they would also bring in bands. They'd bring in music to entertain their workers. And this group was one of them. And so they named themselves after the laboratory. This nuclear research laboratory. That's how they got their name, which is very funny because nobody really even thinks about that now. The Oak Ridge Boys are very famous. So nobody even makes that connection now in America. It's just the Oak Ridge Boys. Nobody thinks about that. But that's how they got their name, from Oak Ridge National Laboratory, because the government who was running the laboratory invited this group in to come and sing and perform for their workers, because their workers were not allowed out. And so the group called themselves the Oak Ridge Quartet in 1943 during World War II, when all of this nuclear research was going on. And the name stuck. They did change it a little bit in the 1960s to the Oak Ridge Boys, and that's how they're known today. Still, they're still around. Like I said, the current group is basically the same members as they were in the early 1970s. They're getting pretty old now, so they might change their lineup again. If you can imagine, if they were together in the early 1970s, they were maybe 20-something. That was 50 years ago. They'd be in their 70s now. So, yeah, they're all getting kind of old now. So they might change their lineups very soon. But, yeah, most of them are still there now. All right, so that's the Oak Ridge Boys. So today we're going to talk about the song Elvire. It's one of their biggest hits. It was a crossover. Remember I mentioned that when we were talking about their genre of music. Gospel music is not going to get that popular. It's too religious. It's about Christianity, about Jesus, and things like that, which not everyone believes in. So it's not going to get that popular. So they did have some songs that were not religious. Elvire is one of them. It's a song that's just about being in love with someone. Very simple song. That's why the first part of our program here today, this week, is quite long. There's not going to be much to talk about with the lyrics. The lyrics are simple. It's about being in love with a woman, and her name is Elvire. That's her name. It's a fun song. When you listen to it, which we're going to do in just a minute here, you will hear a bass line. Bass is very deep. You're going to hear a very deep singer in this song. And that's what everyone loves, because nobody can really, well, not nobody, obviously he can, but very few people can sing as low and deep as he sings. So it's very popular. A lot of people love that line in the song, and you will know it when you hear it. Okay, so that's all the song's about. It's about being in love with someone named Elvire. Easy as that. All right, so let's get to the song. Any of you that are watching on YouTube, as you know, if you've listened to this program before, we cannot show you the video because of copyright reasons. So you're going to see a link in the upper right-hand corner. Please click on that. Then when the video is over, you can just jump back over to here, onto this video to listen to the analysis of the lyrics. Any of you joining via radio or streaming, you should be able to hear this just fine. So, let's get to it. Here you go. Let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back, everyone. So this song is about love for Elvire. It's as simple as that. It's a love song for Elvire. So let's get to the lyrics. We start right away with Elvire. Elvire, Elvire, my heart's on fire for Elvire. Okay, so when you say your heart is on fire, obviously it's not really on fire. You'd be dead. What that means is, you know, when you feel like kind of warmth inside you, when you think about someone you love. That's all it's talking about there when it says his heart's on fire. It means he's in love with her. He's in love with Elvire. He loves her, makes his heart feel warm. So his heart's on fire for Elvire. And then we jump into the first verse. With eyes that look like heaven, lips like cherry wine, that girl can sure enough make my little light shine. I get a funny feeling up and down my spine, 'cause I know that my Elvira's mine. Okay, so we start with eyes that look like heaven. Okay. Obviously, heaven means like the perfect place. So in other words, her eyes are beautiful. Just, it's as simple as that. So he looks into her eyes, and she looks great. Lips like cherry wine. Okay, wine is red. Cherries are red, so cherry wine is very red. So you can imagine that her lips are very red. And you know, when you think about women, when they put on makeup and things like that, they like to make their lips really red. So that's considered attractive. I mean, I don't know. I mean, men don't do that, so I don't know. But whatever, that's considered attractive for women. So, okay, so we have lips like cherry wine. So that's, again, she's very beautiful. So we have eyes that look like heaven, lips like cherry wine. So in other words, she's a beautiful woman. That girl can sure enough make my little light shine. What does that mean? All right, make his light shine. In other words, it brightens up his life. He feels happy. He feels good when he thinks about her, when he's with her, anything like that. So he makes her happy. Like I said, he's in love with her. My heart's on fire for Elvire. He's in love with her. Okay, I get a funny feeling up and down my spine. Okay, so your spine, that's your backbone. Now, when you feel like tingling all over, we kind of call it a tingle in your spine, even though it's not really in your spine because you feel it all over. So when he says he gets a funny feeling up and down his spine, that's kind of what he means. He kind of gets this tingly feeling all over. Like it's really special. Like he's really excited. He's really nervous. There's just something about her. So it's just about being in love with her. So when he talks about getting a funny feeling up and down his spine, it just means like in his fingers he feels tingly or something like that. You've all done that. You all know what that is. When your hands and arms and legs feel tingly, that's what it means. Even though it says his spine, which your spine is like your back. So even though it says your spine, when we talk about getting a funny feeling in your spine, it means all over your body, because your spine basically controls that, which is why We say it's in your spine, even though you feel it in your fingers and toes and arms and legs, and maybe even in your head. You get that tingly feeling. So that's what that's talking about. And then it says, because I know that my Elvira's mine. So apparently he's already with her, because it says that my Elvira's mine. So that's why he feels so special and so good about it. Because this isn't just someone he wants to be with. This isn't just someone he's dreaming about, like, oh, she's so beautiful, I want to be with her. No, he's already with her. This is his girlfriend, his wife. He loves her. And he's with her. That's why he feels so special. Because I know that my Elvira's mine. So it's really a great love song. A lot of times, if someone's been with someone for a long time, unfortunately, sadly, the excitement, the love even, can kind of go away after many years, which is kind of sad that happens, but it does. That's reality. That's life. It happens. So this guy is with his girl. And at least as of now, as of yet, none of that love has gone away. It has not faded. He loves her just as much as he always has. So that's why he feels so special. That's why this is so wonderful to him. This isn't just some dream he has. This is his girl. 'Cause I know that my Elvira's mine. That's his girl. Okay, then we get to the chorus. Elvira, Elvira, my heart's on fire for Elvira. Okay, that's the same thing we saw before about his heart being on fire. Again, remember, that just means that he's in love with her. That's all that means. And then we get to that low bass part that everyone loves. Giddy up, bop, bop, mow, mow. Giddy up, bop, bop, mow, mow. Hi, ho, silver, and away. Okay, so what does that mean? Nothing. Really, it doesn't mean anything. There's a lot of references to horses in there. When you say giddy up, that's like what you tell a horse when you want him to go. Hi ho silver is what an old American kind of superhero used to say to his horse when he wanted his horse to kind of run away. But there's nothing in here about horses, really. So it's just kind of a fun line. That's all that is. It's just a fun line. And it is fun. Okay, so now we get to the second verse, which is really the last verse. As I told you, there's not much here in the analysis of the lyrics. So our second verse. Tonight I'm going to meet her at the Hungry House Cafe. I'm going to give her all the love I can. Yes, I am. She's going to jump and holler. I've saved up my last $2. We're going to search and find that preacher man. Okay, so tonight I'm going to meet her at the Hungry House Cafe. So he's just going to meet her for dinner. That's all that's saying. I'm going to give her all the love I can. Okay, yeah. She's going to jump and holler. I've saved up my last $2. We're going to search and find that preacher man. Okay, so why is she going to jump and holler? All right, we'll read the last line there. We're going to search and find that preacher man. So in other words, what he's saying here, and why has he saved up his last $2? Got to pay for that preacher man. Got to pay. He's not free. So why are you getting preacher? Preacher, that's like a minister, a rabbi, a monk. Think of it like a Buddhist monk. So why would you get a preacher in Western culture? They're going to get married. So he's proposing to her. That's why she's jumping and hollering. She's going to jump and holler because he's proposing to her. He's saying he wants to marry her. So he's got the money. Apparently it only cost $2. I think it's going to cost you a lot more than that now. But back when the song was written, I guess in the South, $2, that's enough. So he's going to pay the preacher man $2 for them to get married. So that's what it's saying here. he meets her at the restaurant. They're having dinner together. And then he says, hey, will you marry me? And so now they're going to go find that preacher man to get married. So I guess I mentioned before, maybe Elvira's his girlfriend, maybe Elvira's his wife. I guess it's just his girlfriend. Because now he's going to make Elvira his wife. All right. And then all we have left is the chorus. And they repeat it 3 times. Elvira, Elvira, my heart's on fire for Elvira. Giddy up, papa, mama. Giddy up, papa, mama. Hi, ho, silver, and away. They do that 3 times, and then the song ends. So that's it. That's it. It's a really sweet little song. Just about a guy being in love with his girlfriend. And they're going to get married. Easy as that. Sweet little song. So, I think that's a pretty fun song, isn't it? All right, so I recommend you listen to more from the Oak Ridge Boys. Even though they're known for being a gospel band, a gospel group, gospel singers. So you may not share their same religion, so maybe you don't want to listen to a lot of their stuff. They'll be singing about Jesus and stuff like that, which here in Thailand, most people are Buddhist. Maybe you don't want to hear about Jesus. So maybe you're not going to like a lot of their music. But they do have a lot of other stuff that is not religious. Just like Elvira. Perhaps their most popular song, which is not religious, is Bobby Sue. Personally, I prefer Elvira. I think Elvira is their best song. But they do have a song called Bobby Sue, which is also very popular. So go ahead and look up the Oak Ridge Boys online, and you will see the song Bobby Sue. Go listen to that song. It's a good song. So that would be my recommendation to you for the Oak Ridge Boys. There's lots of other songs as well, and a lot of them are really good, so go listen to lots of their songs. And you know what? Even listen to their religious music. Even if you don't believe the same things they believe, it's still good music. For the music part of it, it's still nice to listen to. As I said, I'm not that religious, and I like religious music. I grew up around it, and I find it enjoyable. It's nice music. So go ahead and listen to some of their religious music as well. Go listen to some of their gospel music. You might like it. Even if you don't really relate to the words because you don't believe in that. The music itself is really nice. It's usually pretty peaceful, pretty calming, pretty nice music. All right, so that's it for the Oak Ridge Boys. Thank you, everyone, for joining us today on today's Musical Musings program. Please stay with us now, and remember to tune back in next week when we will bring you another really fun song. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical musings, musical